Red River looks like an easy little ski town, a main street, a chairlift, a few fudge shops on the way to Taos. But the best of it sits way above town at 10, 11, even 13,000 feet, and that thin air is the whole point. The town is just the front door. A couple of easy wins sit right in it, but almost everything else you climb or drive to earn. So let me start at the very top. Wheeler Peak is the highest point in all of New Mexico at 13,167 feet, and from Red River you can walk to the literal top of the state. The route runs south out of the upper valley, up the Middlefork drainage, past meadows and alpine lakes, until the trees give out and you are standing on bare rock with the land dropping away on every side. On a clear morning, you can see from the Sandia Range down by Albuquerque all the way north into southern Colorado. Now here is what trips most people up. They hear highest point and just outside Red River and picture an easy half day. They are in for a shock. From this side, it runs around 16 miles round trip with a few thousand feet of climbing, so it is either a very long single push or an overnight, and the trail does not shed its snow until about June. If the summit is the only thing you came for, the shorter way up Wheeler actually starts over near Taos Ski Valley, and that side is the gentler climb. The Red River approach is the prettier walk though, and it is the one that feels like you earned the view. So go up prepared, which means more water than you think you need, an early start to beat the afternoon storms that build on these peaks almost every summer day, and real respect for an elevation that flattens people who were at sea level yesterday. Watch for the marmots sunning on the rocks near the top too. They are basically the welcome committee. You do not have to climb a 13,000-foot peak to have a great day here though, and the easiest win is right in the middle of town. The Red River ski and summer area runs straight through the summer, not just in ski season, and it is built for people who have no interest in driving an hour to have fun. The headline ride is the Pioneer Flyer, a seated zip line that flings you 600 feet out over the fishing ponds at around 35 miles an hour. There is also the Hidden Treasure Aerial Park, 3 levels of rope course and obstacles that turn properly difficult by the top tier, and a scenic chairlift that lifts you 1,600 vertical feet to the summit for the view if you would rather keep your feet up and your pulse down. Those fishing ponds at the base are stocked, so it is an easy place to put a rod in a kid's hands while the rest of the family does the high ropes. In winter, this is the ski hill the whole town is wrapped around, beginner-friendly and close enough to walk to from a lot of the lodging, which almost no ski town can honestly claim. You can park the car for 3 days and never touch it, which traveling with kids is the whole ball game. Just check what is actually running before you go, since the summer rides hinge on the weather and carry height limits for the smaller ones. Back up in the high country is where Red River really gets its hooks into you, and the next one is the alpine lake even casual hikers can reach. Middlefork Lake sits right at the foot of Wheeler Peak, a still, clear pool fed by snowmelt and mountain springs, and you get to it without turning the day into an expedition. It is roughly a 2-mile climb of about 1,200 feet. In fall, the aspens around it burn gold. In summer, there are wild raspberries along the path, and in winter, the whole basin disappears under snow. What I love about this spot is the history buried under it. Middlefork, along with the 2 lakes above it, once fed something the old-timers called the Big Ditch. Back in the gold rush days, crews hand-built 41 miles of ditch, pipe, and wooden trestle to carry water around the mountainsides to the gold operations over in the Moreno Valley. 41 miles of channel to move water about 11 miles in a straight line. It ran for roughly 30 years, never really turned a profit, and then they simply walked away from the whole thing. So you are hiking past abandoned ambition up there, and almost nobody on the trail has the faintest idea it happened. If Middlefork is the lake for normal humans, the next 2 are for people who like their water hard-won. I am going to take Lost Lake and Horseshoe Lake together because they hang off the same trail family as Wheeler, and they demand the same thing of you, which is a serious day on your legs. Lost Lake is about a 4-mile climb up the east fork of the Red River, sitting just inside the Wheeler Peak Wilderness at around 11,500 feet. Horseshoe is higher again, just under 12,000, up above the tree line where the wind never really stops. Both hold native cutthroat trout, and here is the detail that always stops me. They stock those lakes by helicopter because there is no other way to get fish up that high. So if you fly fish, these two are the trophies of the trip. Cold green water with the peaks mirrored in it and almost nobody else around. The payoff for all that effort is solitude you cannot buy lower down, the kind of quiet where you can hear your own heartbeat. Camp at least 300 feet back from the shoreline, do not light a fire, and please leave the gnarled little bristlecone pines alone because some of those twisted trees are older than any building you will ever set foot in. Not every hike up here demands a whole day and a death wish. Columbine Canyon gives you 2 hikes in one, and it is the one I steer most first-timers toward. The trailhead sits off the highway between Red River and Cuesta at the Columbine campground, and the opening stretch follows Columbine Creek through ponderosa pine, spruce, and groves of aspen with wooden footbridges over the early creek crossings. That first couple of miles is gentle and quietly gorgeous, the kind of walk you can manage with kids or with a slow morning behind you, and you turn back the moment you have had your fill. Push deeper and the trail climbs hard toward Lobo Peak and the Columbine Hondo Wilderness, so the same canyon hands you an easy streamside amble or a real lung buster depending on how far you commit. The one warning worth giving. Past those first bridges, you may end up wading the creek in spots, so in high water, bring shoes you do not mind soaking through. So far, this has all been on foot. If your legs have filed for retirement and you would rather take the country in from behind a windshield, Red River happens to sit on one of the finest drives in the state. The Enchanted Circle is an 84-mile loop that ties Red River together with Taos, Angel Fire, Eagle Nest, and Cuesta, and Red River is one of the prettiest stops on the entire ring. You climb up and over Bobcat Pass, the high point of the loop, drop through open meadows and old mining country, and run right alongside Eagle Nest Lake with the peak standing behind it. Worth a stop along the way is the Vietnam Veterans Memorial near Angel Fire, a white chapel on a hillside that catches a lot of people off guard with how moving it is. The loop takes a half day if you never get out of the car, or a full one if you stop the way you should. It is the unhurried way to see how all of this fits together, the high passes giving way to ranch valleys and an alpine lake with a couple of ghost towns thrown in. Give it most of a day, a full tank, and somewhere good lined up for lunch. When the aspens turn in late September, this loop is the reason half the cars in town are wearing out-of-state plates. That drive is paved and forgiving. The next one is its evil twin, and it is the road Red River is quietly famous for. Goose Lake is a high mountain lake at the top of a track, built to test your vehicle and your nerve in equal measure. It climbs almost 3,000 feet in about 7 miles on a narrow rocky shelf road that demands real four-wheel drive with high clearance or a side-by-side built for the job. This is no place for the rental sedan, and I mean that as a real warning because people get partway up and discover there is nowhere to turn around. Early on, you ford the Red River itself, which runs anywhere from ankle to knee deep depending on the season, and as you grind upward, you pass mining cabins from the 1890s still standing in the trees, slowly losing their roofs to 100+ winters. The whole mountain is stitched with these old claims because this was hard country full of hopeful men chasing gold that mostly was not there. At the top sits a clear pool at almost 12,000 feet where you can fish, picnic, or just perch on a rock feeling heroic for getting there. If that sounds like your kind of afternoon, this is the signature Red River adventure, and nothing else in town quite matches it. Now, Red River is an off-highway vehicle town at heart, so you do not need to own a rig like that to get up the high roads. You can rent a side-by-side right off Main Street, or book a guided Jeep tour that hauls you up to the old mines and high passes you would never locate on your own. The guides tend to be locals who double as storytellers, so you come back with the history of the gold camps folded in with the views. A good operator will also keep you off the trails that are above your skill level, which up here is worth a lot. Bring a jacket even in July because the temperature falls off a cliff once you climb, and plan to come back filthy and grinning. It is loud, it is teeth-rattling, and it is the most fun a lot of families have on the whole trip. A short walk from those lifts there is a town park that is better than a town this size has any right to own. Mallette Park is free, it is right in the middle of everything, and there is more in it than you would guess. You get a creek running through it, a playground, tennis courts, a skate park, a disc golf course, and a little nature loop. The detail almost nobody mentions is that the short loop passes a small cave, which is an odd and delightful thing to find behind a playground. This is where you let the kids burn off the last of their fuel or take a flat, painless walk on a day your legs are wrecked from the high country. You would never build a trip around it, but it is a pleasant free hour, and free hours quietly add up over a week. And when the weather turns on you, which up at this elevation it absolutely will, there is one stop in town worth ducking into. As the afternoon storms pile up over the peaks, the Kenneth Wyatt Gallery on Main Street is a free place to wander and wait it out. Kenneth Wyatt was a Texas Panhandle painter, not a New Mexico native, but he gave a lifetime to painting the American West, the cowboys, the ranch scenes, the wide skies of this whole region. He has since passed away, but his work still hangs in the gallery, sitting alongside the other small galleries and boutiques scattered down the street. This is not why you drove all the way up here. It is a dry, no-pressure half hour when the sky lets go, and it costs you nothing to look around. Leave the town behind for a moment, because a few minutes up the highway sits a place that takes the one season most towns dread and makes it the entire reason to come. The Enchanted Forest cross-country ski area is just east of Red River, and it is the only full-service cross-country ski and snowshoe area in New Mexico. That buys you more than 30 kilometers of groomed, patrolled trails winding through the trees, with separate networks set aside just for snowshoeing, and even a few trails where you are allowed to ski with your dog, which is a small touch that makes a certain kind of person absolutely glow. They rent all the gear, run lessons and guided snowshoe days, and keep warming huts out on the snow, plus the occasional full moon outing, so glance at their event calendar when you plan the trip. The real move here, if you have any adventure left in you, is to book one of the heated trailside yurts, sled your gear in, and actually sleep out in the woods in the dead of winter with a wood stove ticking away. Come summer, the whole trail network reopens for hiking and mountain biking with no pass needed at all. It is hushed, it is well run, and it is the kind of place that converts people who came to downhill ski into people who keep returning for the cross country instead. I saved the strangest landscape for last, and yes, it is a real drive to get to. The Wild Rivers Recreation Area is where the Red River finally joins the Rio Grande at the floor of an 800-foot gorge sliced straight down through ancient volcanic rock. One honest note before you go chasing it: this place is nowhere near just outside town, whatever the old lists tell you. It is around a 35-mile drive out past Cuesta towards Cerro, so block off a half day for the round trip. It sits inside the Rio Grande del Norte National Monument, with a small visitor center and a string of primitive campgrounds spaced right along the rim, which makes it a stellar place to camp if you want the canyon to yourself at sunrise. When you stand on that rim and look down at two rivers meeting inside a black basalt canyon, with raptors riding the updrafts below you, you will understand why I saved it. Name trails like La Junta and Big Arsenic Switchback all the way down to the confluence. And the descent is the easy part, since the climb back out at this elevation is a serious piece of work. Keep an eye on the cliffs too, because bighorn sheep pick their way across rock you would swear nothing could stand on. It is the most dramatic country anywhere around Red River, and it is the one view from this whole trip that sticks with you long after you have left. So that is Red River, a small town perched at 8,700 feet that turns out to be the front door to everything stacked up above it. If you have just one day for it, drive the easy lower half of the Enchanted Circle in the morning, and if your lungs have adjusted, take the short walk in to Middlefork Lake after lunch, and you will have tasted both the easy beauty and the hard-won kind in one go. Come up a day early and take that first day slow, because the thin air that makes this place so special is the very same thin air that flattens the people who try to rush it. I have put the money-saving travel guide and the handful of tour operators I would actually trust up here in the description, so grab those before you book anything. And I always miss something, so drop the Red River spot you swear by in the comments, because everyone who loves this town has one,